Welcome to Leading West Michigan, a show about success and featuring local leaders and people in local business. And now here's your host, Ryan Howe.
Good morning, West Michigan. We have a great show for you today. I'm Ryan Howe. I am a business coach who helps organizations grow. I help companies like Changeover Integration, Larson's Landscaping, and Safe Harbor Credit Union with every aspect of their company. Why wait? Start your business transformation today. Follow Summit Business Guides on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. Connect with me personally on LinkedIn and learn more at summitbusinessguides.com. This show is all about learning about our guest leadership journey, and joining us today is Melissa Zumbach, the Superintendent of Gateway to Success Academy, G2S. Thanks for coming on today.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so for those that don't know, what is G2S?
G2S is a public charter school. We serve Mason, Lake, Oceana counties. We're authorized by the West Shore ESD. We are an alternative school that utilizes project-based learning.
Outstanding. We're getting more of that later in the show. Again, it's one of those things where during my travels, there's a lot of charter schools that are around, and I love the fact that again, the alternative learning has become more and more accepted out there. And again, a lot of that is due to your work over there. So I want to definitely chat about that. So with that, where are you from originally?
Originally, I am from Gladwin, Michigan. It's about a 2-hour drive east of Ludington, straight over on 10, little town.
Yeah, little town. How big is Gladwin?
It's pretty well. We like to talk about like how many traffic lights.
Okay, how many traffic lights?
We've got about 3 traffic lights.
You have 3, outstanding. So my village in Custer, we have a blinky light.
Yep.
Okay, and all of Oceana County has 1 stoplight. Yep. So you're above that. That's great. So what did your family do there?
My mom's in the nursing business. She works as a director at Mid-Michigan Health in Midland. My dad was in IT. We grew up on a little lake over there, so a lot of water sports.
Oh, that's nice.
Like that. Yeah,
great. So, what was school like for you there? Did you enjoy school?
I loved school. A small school. I think I graduated with like 113 or so people. So
I graduated with 28. So
yeah,
okay.
A little bit bigger than that.
No. So, what did you like about school? Yeah.
I think I was born to be in education. I like the structure of school. I enjoyed my classes. It was easy for me. I liked interacting with friends. I always did sports, track and cross country. I was in band and.
What'd you play in band?
Clarinet.
A clarinet. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So now it's always interesting me when I talk to educators because there's a vast majority of them, they loved just being in that environment, the learning environment. For you, how was was the social aspect as important, like interaction, as the schooling, or was the schooling more important if you had to pick one?
I think probably the school part of it. I like academics. I like to read. I like to write. I like coursework, so I was one of those kind of nerdy kids that
okay.
I didn't mind a test. I didn't mind studying and doing labs and all of that stuff.
Nothing wrong with that. So really, across the board, the humanities, get into English, get into science, and all of it was just your bag.
Yeah, yep, I love it.
That's good to hear. Because I had most of that except for, I like history, but I did not like taking the tests because I hated having to remember all those dates. So, you graduated from Gladwin?
I did.
Okay,
yep.
So. With that, and you mentioned track and field. Was there track and field, and what was the other one?
And cross country.
And cross country. Yep. So no like team sports. These are individual.
I did not do team sports.
Okay.
Nope. Yep. I was a runner. I was a distance runner for a long time. Yep.
Outstanding. And that's the other part. I was talking with somebody yesterday about the state. There's different areas around the state that are known for different things. Mm-hmm. And it's once you get in this area and a little bit north. We're all runners. Yeah. Like long distance run, like cross country is just a thing that people just absolutely. I think it's mostly because once the sun comes out like it is now, we just want to be outside and get moving. So, all right. So with that, was college always on your mind? Something you were going to do?
Yeah, I think so. Even as a little kid, I always wanted to be a teacher.
Okay.
So that you just knew you were going to go to college and that's what you were going to do.
Yeah, just knew like that was going to happen.
That was the path. Yep.
That's awesome. Again, if you're just joining us, we're talking with Melissa. Zumbach. I'm say Zumbach a couple times. Right. I apologize. Melissa Zumbach, Superintendent of Gateway to Success Academy. Again, I'm Ryan Howe. This is Leading West Michigan, and this show is all about learning about our guest leadership journey. So college was just a thing that was going to happen.
Yeah, it was. I was prepared to do it. I took academics seriously in high school, so kind of really always knew the path I wanted to take.
So when it came time to pick college, what was that like for you, knowing that you had a plan the whole time and then you were ready to go? So what did that look like for you?
Yeah, I didn't I toured a few colleges, but I didn't want to go too far from home. I'm big on family. I'm close with my family. Love the community I grew up in. So I did my undergrad work at CMU. So that was just a natural. It's like a 45-minute drive from where I grew up. So it's a school for teachers. So it was a good match for me.
Yeah, I've got a cousin or two that's been through there as well. So, but all right. So what was your experience like on CMU?
I loved it. I had a good time. It was close enough that I could kind of go back and forth to home often. I had a really good experience there. I enjoyed all of my coursework. Loved the campus. It was a really good fit for me.
All right. So one of the questions I had, and this one, interested to see how you answer this one. I've talked to a lot of people that knew exactly what they were going to do, and they said, "This is where I'm going at." And were there any classes and or professors that challenged you, and at any point said, maybe I might not be going in the right direction?
Not really. I think probably when I look back on that education, my undergrad degree, I think that I was a history minor and an English major, and the English was easy for me. I loved to read. That was where I excelled. It was not challenging. The social studies history part, I've always loved and had a passion for, and I had one particularly challenging professor, and I was like, wow.
What's that professor's name? Do you remember?
I do not remember.
Okay.
Sadly, that was many years
That's
ago.
okay. That's right. It's nothing wrong. You could just put it in the vault.
But,
so yeah.
He was tough. And I was one of those kids that I think academics came easy to me. I kind of coasted through. I didn't have to study a lot. I was really blessed that way. I have a good memory. And he was just more rigorous, I think, in his expectations than I was used to. And I thought, wow. And I think going into education, that was a good experience to shape me and how I approached, being in the classroom and navigating kids and coursework and all of that. So.
Yeah, and that's an interesting point you made there, because when I was doing my coursework, it was the same thing. I graduated with honors and just was like, I was out of college for my senior year. But when I actually went to college, and having to learn how to study was tough. Like, I never had to do it before. I could just, look at the book and just pull out, recall. And that's one of the ones where, as I've talked to young men and women in school, is like, learn how to study. Yeah. Find a class that's hard that you're going to struggle with. Just take it, because you're going to have to practice that skill. Because when you get into college, it's no joke.
Oh, no, not at all. And I was very similar. I didn't have great study skills. I didn't need them. So, my first couple of semesters at CMU, I was like, wow, this is more challenging than I thought. I'm not really sure how to study for a test. So, those study skills are super important.
And we're continuing our conversation with Melissa Zumbach, the superintendent of Gateway to Success Academy. So when you graduated, you said you was history. It was an English with a history minor.
Correct.
Is that correct?
Yep.
And so what did next steps for you? What did that look like? What was after your undergrad?
I was at that point, we're talking 2007-ish. Teaching jobs in Michigan were few and far between. There were not many. So I really knew when I graduated, I would have to probably go out of state if I wanted to get a teaching job right away. And I wasn't interested in waiting it out and doing something else and then getting into teaching. So I started looking, outside of Michigan, and I went real big and went to South Carolina. So I went far from home.
Yeah. So before we get to that, I meant to ask one other question. So you had to do some in-class work also during your undergrad, correct? Did you have to go into, where did you do that at?
I did the first phase of it at middle school in Mount Pleasant. I kind of learned that middle school was maybe not my jam.
What grade was it? Did you hit all the grades?
It was seventh grade.
Seventh grade.
Yep.
That's a tough one.
And I did my student teaching in Beaverton, which is a even smaller town than Gladwin, over east a little bit from here. So, and I taught 11th grade, I think, for that.
Okay. So what was it about the middle schoolers that you said maybe a job mismatch?
They have an energy that you need to be able to match. And I just gel better, I think, with high school kiddos. That's what I've always taught. I love middle school, but they're a different energy than what I'm accustomed to. So if you know a middle school teacher, you know. Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely. No, I completely understand. Again, you've got to. It's not that you bring your A game. You've got to basically make sure you've got to, you're extra caffeinated and you're focused, because everything you say you're getting challenged on.
That's
it's
right.
that type of stuff. So okay. And then you said 11th grade over at Beaverton.
Yeah.
Okay. And Did they was a particular course set you taught there, student teaching, or
I did both English and social studies, so I was under 2 cooperating teachers. So
at that level, that must be really enjoyable to watch their writing transform, because that's about the age when it really starts. You start getting understanding the basics better.
I always said 11th grade is one of my favorite grades to teach. Ninth grade is challenging. It's like a transition into high school. Seniors get the senioritis and they're ready to be done. 11th grade, that's kind of the sweet spot. Love 11th grade.
Oh, that's awesome. So made your way from, again, once you got your undergraduate, and you were hired in down to South Carolina, and it was Sumter, is that correct?
Yeah, I taught in Sumter at Crestwood High School.
Okay, Crestwood High School. And the reason, and we were talking earlier, we're going to bring it up again, though, is that Sumter, pretty much everyone in the Air Force knows, because Shaw Air Force Base is there. Yep. And there's it's always been known as a great town. People love getting their assignments there. So what was Sumter like for you? What's the size of the town? What's that like for those that don't know?
It's a lot bigger than the town I grew up in, I can say that. So Sumter, and I taught at Crestwood High School. There's actually 3 high schools, and they're large high schools. We had over 1,000 students at Crestwood, I believe, where I taught. So it was a lot bigger than what I was accustomed to. So it was definitely a culture change. I loved it, though. Loved the town, loved the area.
Yeah, we were talking earlier about Zaxby's. It's like my favorite chicken joint ever. They're all over the South. So if you ever happen to head down south and you need something to eat and you see a Zaxby's, just go pull in. You'll be very happy you did. So, okay. So what were you teaching there? Like right off the bat?
I taught English, mostly 10th grade English.
Now, so you're out of student teaching.
Right.
Now you're on your own.
Yep.
What was that like? Tell me about your first few months, getting used to it. What was that like?
It was challenging. And when I graduated from Central, I graduated in December. So it's a weird, if you're in the teaching industry, that's a weird time. So I came in mid-year. I didn't start the school year down there. I moved in January from Gladwin down to South Carolina. And I started teaching in January there. And so I think that first, semester till the end of that year, it was kind of a blur, because you're just thrown right in and you're like, whoa, what is this? And it's very different. If you've been to the South, it's a very different experience than rural Michigan.
Oh, so. that's might as well be the other side of the planet.
Yeah.
It's completely different.
So it was a big learning curve, but it was exciting. It was something totally
new. For
new.
those that don't know, what's the difference? Like in the way the students are, and just the folks and everything?
Yeah, it's just, you're in the Bible Belt. And, one of the first questions you'll get asked down there, so you're a Yankee? Yep, that's a thing. And have you found a church yet?
What's your home church?
Yep.
That was always the question I got, yeah.
Yeah, but no, it's very welcoming. It's just a different kind of vibe. Schools are schools anywhere, but it was different, and a different just culture. The Southern culture is interesting, and it was something that I had to kind of just jump into. But yeah, and it was exciting, getting your own classroom finally and not being under someone else. That was a fun time.
What was so when you had to set up your room, obviously mid-year, so you really didn't get much of a chance to. So what were some of the things that you changed in your room right off the bat?
I didn't do much because I was pretty overwhelmed with I need to figure out what I'm actually teaching right here, right now. Like, what are the resources that I have? What are the textbooks? And so my first classroom was very bare. And it was kind of a sad looking place. I just used hand-me-downs from the teacher that was there before me. And then the next year, I really decorated it to the hilt. I had posters everywhere. It was fun. I enjoyed that. And that's kind of that teacher in me, I think. You like to decorate a classroom. You like to do all those things. Yeah,
you want to make it conducive for learning. A sterile environment is challenging to teach in. So when my daughter, she had obviously her first year on her own. She taught the full year of the previous, but it was great. With the redhead, it's my wife, by the way. They were sharing notes, but also just sending pictures back and forth of how the room was set up was everything. It was so great to see. It was awesome. So, all right. So with that, you got through the first blur. What is the second year then, now that you got blur time is done and you've had a chance to prepare? Yeah,
the second year I kind of had my feet under me a little bit more. And so then it was figuring out, how do I manage a classroom? Because that's a whole different piece. And I think that's a thing that as a student teacher, you're just not super prepared for. You still have someone watching over you, so you're not doing all the management. So that was challenging. And just getting to know those kiddos, and they do a little bit look at you like you're an outsider. You're not from there. You don't have a Southern accent. You're kind of a foreign person. And so building relationships with kiddos was a big thing, and just getting to know wants and needs of those kids and how do I serve those needs in my classroom. That was a big thing, I would say, the next couple of years.
That definitely makes sense. It's it's like with anything, the first 6 months in any job are just, okay, now I know where the front door is now.
Yeah.
Or that now you get a chance to settle in. And how well did CMU prepare you to run your own classroom?
I think pretty well. But like I said, a very different classroom environment than what I was used to. The school that I student taught in was very similar to the high school that I went to. So that was kind of my knowledge base, very small, very rural. Everybody knows everybody. And to be thrown into a big school, 80 some teachers and just a lot of kiddos. You walk down the hall and you don't know everyone. That was a different experience for me. So I think I was prepared teacher-wise. I had the content knowledge and all of that, but just finding out who I was as a teacher and how I was going to manage my room, and I think that was kind of the learning that I had to do once I started.
So what did you find out? Say you had to come and find out your style for running a classroom. What did you find out?
I found out I like structure and rules. I think that's why I like education. I like structure and rules. And so it was important for me to figure out what were those expectations that I had and how do I communicate them to students so that they can meet those expectations. It's a lot of communicating. It's a lot of understanding how other kids take in information and how they process it. You can post rules on the wall. That doesn't mean that they're going to get those rules or follow those rules. So it's how you communicate and how kids, take that in. Yeah,
no, and I'll tell you, that's I'm glad you said that about the structure and the rules and things like that. Not just in education, but even in business. Again, we're talking about you're moving to administration and stuff in a while, but having structures and rules so you know what the sandbox looks like to play in. People thrive once they have that, and the youngsters, the students are no different.
No, I think most people feel more comfortable when there is a structure, and kids especially. If you're a parent, you know that structure is key, routine is key, and when you build those and they're fair and equitable, and you're communicating, kids feel more safe, they feel more secure, and then that's when they can learn.
Yeah, absolutely, that introduction to structure is so very important. So. Got a few minutes left for our next break here. So how long did you teach in that position?
I taught there 9 years.
9 years?
Yep.
And did you stay with the same course load and the structure or the courses that you taught, or how did that evolve?
I changed a little. I mostly taught, then they had different tracks. So you had college prep and then you had honors. I mostly taught college prep, which was just standard classes. In my last few years, I did teach more honors courses, and I taught drama, which was a challenging thing that I was not prepared for. But
in what way? In what way?
I had no experience in drama, and my principal said, "Hey, we have a new auditorium. You want to teach drama?" And I said, "I guess." And so I did.
So you just jumped. I find that with teachers too. This is something that I've had Paul Shelp. I've had other superintendents in here, and it's never ceases to amaze me when there's an opportunity to do something for the students. Yeah. I'll figure it out. I'll make it work.
Just do it.
Yeah. So especially something with drama too. So, so 9 years there. And so with that, I guess my question I would have here for you just real quick is, what in that area made you start thinking about possible administration? Was there anything in there that, I know you went back to school and we'll talk about that, but was there anything in there that, hey, you know what, I might want to be leading teachers?
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, I like the structure. I like the procedures. That kind of stuff is intriguing to me. And I started getting student teachers of my own that I was leading. And I was a mentor teacher for new teachers. And so I think that was kind of the thing that spurred me into, I could do the administrator thing.
Yeah, and that's one of those things that I've found with those individuals who tend to go for structure and those type of things. They tend to eventually want to be managers of managers. And just because they say, hey, I know how this can help my team flourish, if I can help other managers to implement this, then their teams can flourish, but then they can also flourish as well too. So that's great. Again, I'm going to head into our next break here. I want to talk about, again, transition, more college that you had to take, and then also onto your next work, what that looked like. So You're listening to Leading West Michigan on 102.7 WMOM, at home on your Amazon Alexa or Google Home smart devices, streaming online at WMOM.FM, and live video streams on the 102.7 WMOM Facebook page and WMOM YouTube channel. So let's get into that first break, and we get to hear about more college.
Oriole Nation, join the OSN and 102.7 WMOM on Tuesday, February 27th, as the Ludington Orioles travel to Fremont to take on the Fremont Packers in girls varsity basketball action. The pregame show should begin right around 6:45 p.m. with the tip-off scheduled for 7 p.m. That's Tuesday, February 27th, right here on 102.7 WMOM and the Oriole Sports Network. You can listen and watch by tuning in to 102.7 WMOM Radio, Amazon Alexa, or Google Home by saying play WMOM. Streaming live at WMOM.FM and as always on the OSN. You can also still watch the game on Facebook, and you can watch on YouTube as well, as it will be streaming to both platforms. Let's go O's! This game will be brought to you by Benedict's Auto Center, Crown and Cork Restaurant, Groundworks Landscaping, House of Flavors Manufacturing, Indian Summer Co-op, Ludington Chiropractic and Dr. Mark Yeck, Ludington Paint and Glass, Lundquist Furniture, McGee Insurance, Pure Marquette Builders, Safe Harbor Credit Union, Smith & Eddy Insurance, Team Jamie Loney 5-Star Real Estate, and Urca Auto Center. Let's go O's!
Get ready for a stellar Friday night at Spartan West Bowling Alley from 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. It's all about Friday Cosmic Bowling. 2 hours of cosmic excitement for just $12 per person. For only $12, you'll bowl under our mesmerizing lights, and with rental shoes at just $4.25, you'll be sliding into strikes with style. Secure your cosmic spot by calling 231-757-2391. That's 231-757-2391. Reservations guarantee your lane, ensuring you won't miss a moment of the cosmic madness. Gather your crew, your bowling gear, and join us every Friday from 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. Unleash your inner bowling star and let the good times roll at Spartan West Bowling Alley.
Mom's Fridge Magnets are community calendar announcements presented by Watson Motors, West Michigan, CMH, McGee Insurance, and Lakeshore Automotive and Tire. Another fridge magnet comes your way next.
With cooler weather creeping in, now is the ideal time to make sure your home is protected and to ensure you will have a roof over your head if the unthinkable occurs. At McGee Insurance Group, we can help you find the right policy to protect your home and possessions and understand what's covered if disaster strikes. We're open weekdays from 8 to 5 and are located next to Pizza Hut on US 10 in Ludington. Our number is 231-845-5000. Contact us today to see what options are available for you.
Rev up your excitement with the 2023 Jeep Gladiator. Now get an incredible 15% off MSRP on select models. Adventure awaits. Seize it today. Visit Watson Motors for more details.
LACA presents a Taylor Swift experience on March 2nd at 6 p.m. Prices are $20 in advance and $25 at the door. Secure your spot for this all-ages performance by purchasing tickets at LACA or online. Don't miss the chance to be part of this captivating musical experience. If your group or nonprofit organization has an announcement that you would like others to know about, reach out to us and we'll add it for free to the Fridge Magnet program thanks to Lakeshore Automotive and Tire, McGee Insurance, West Michigan, CMH, and Watson Motors.
It's Leading West Michigan, and we're back with your host, Ryan Howe, on 102.7 WMOM.
All right, welcome back. Again, I'm Ryan Howe, Summit Business Guides, and we're continuing our conversation with Melissa Zumbach, the Superintendent of Gateway to Success Academy, G2S. Before the break, we'd finished up our time in Sumter a little bit there as far as your college at 9-year, but we need to go back in time a little bit and talk about when you started doing your master's degree. How long after you started been teaching at Sumter did you, or what was the name of Crestwood. At Crestwood, you decided to go back and get your master's, and what was the impetus for that?
I think it was probably year 3, somewhere in that area. Felt like I had my feet under me by that point. I was settled in. I was pretty comfortable in my job there, and I thought that I could tackle a master's. And I tackled an accelerated master's.
So what was your reason for going back to get your master's, though?
I knew that I knew enough about my content, but I also knew that there was more I could learn to better serve my students.
Okay.
So my degree was in divergent learning. My master's degree was, and the whole point of that degree was how can I teach better? How can I get these kids? How
Absolutely.
can I meet all the unique learning needs that there are?
In my bachelor's occupational education, I had 2 courses specifically on divergent learning in a business environment for the same thing. And for those that don't know, it is, man, they hit you over the head with so much stuff because you have to step outside. You're forced to look at everything from a different perspective. And how did you feel that training was, again, how did it help you develop, I guess, as a teacher?
It was amazing because it was immediately every course I took, every assignment I did, it was applicable to my everyday life as a teacher. So, learning about different learning styles and just all of that, it was exciting to me because you don't get into the depth of that in a teacher prep program. You just learn the basics of how to teach, and you learn your content. And then you're thrown into a classroom where you've got behaviors and you've got, all kinds of things. And why aren't kids doing their homework? And why is this kid struggling? How do I do this?
I could answer that one about not doing homework, but
so, that it was fascinating to me to jump into that and learn more because I didn't have a background in that. So
we're continuing our conversation with Melissa Zumbach, the superintendent at G2S Academy. And yeah, that's the thing with a master's degree where I think a lot of people misunderstand what they're for. They're meant to be for very, you are looking at honing a particular skill set when you're going, mastery. That's why it's in the name. But specifically like that's those understanding those different learning styles. When I did my supply chain management degree for my master's, everything was basically repeated in every single book just from a 5-degree change. Yep. So you could get better at everything. So that's great to hear. So you finished that, you said it was a year though.
I did it in a year. I did an accelerated
How many classes
program.
did you get through in a year?
I don't remember, but I do remember I would get out of school on Friday and I would go to class.
Yeah.
We had a cohort that met in Sumter, Lakewood High School in the library, and we would go to class Friday night, all day Saturday. It was 2 long classes and then class on Sunday. And we were in it. It was challenging.
Yeah, no, and again, that's a testament. People have heard me talk about this on the show before. That is a testament to grit and just perseverance in getting through that thing.
Yeah.
And for those who have your bachelor's degree and you think you might want to look at a new job or something else, masters are there for a reason. If you want to get basically a crash course on how to handle something new in a different skill set, you go after that for sure. So. All right, so you got that, and then we said at the end of your time, though, was you said after 9 years, we moved on. Where did you move to?
I wanted to come back to Michigan. And South Carolina was different, and I loved that I went there. I learned so much. I got such a different perspective, living in a different culture, living in a different kind of school environment than I was used to. So I'm really thankful that I had that experience. But it wasn't home. My family, you spend every vacation trying to get back to Michigan to visit people and family. And, my husband and I, both of our family are here. So we wanted to come back. And it was hard. We found it was challenging because once you're out and you're applying back in state, people are looking at you like you're in South Carolina. We want to hire a Michigan person. Yeah. So in every cover letter I wrote, I would put a little note. I'm from Michigan. I want to come back. So, gotcha. But, and then of course I landed on G2S and so thankful I did.
Yeah, no, and I think that's an interesting point that you made there too. That we tend to look at folks that are close because that way, we're comfortable with them. We kind of think we may know what they're all about. And that's why cover letters exist. Oh, yeah. It's meant to be an additional bit of context outside of your work stuff. Yep. And I'm glad that worked for you. So what was the interview process like with G2S, especially being remote?
Yeah, it was interesting. We did it through Skype.
Oh, wow. I haven't heard that in a while.
I know. Back in the olden days before we did Zoom for everything. Yeah, it was a Skype interview from my living room on my laptop. And it was my favorite interview to this day that I've ever done. Jamie Banstra, who is the former superintendent principal at G2S, he interviewed me with Becky Stone. She was our counselor when we first opened. And it was so interesting. He did this process of tell me a story. And so he would give me kind of a topic and say, well, give me the heading of what that story would be, and then tell me the story. And I was so comfortable doing that because I'm a story person.
Oh, for
I'm
sure.
an English person. So I absolutely loved that interview. I remember walking away from that going, wow, that was fun. It wasn't stressful. That was fun. And I kind of knew wow, this is the kind of leader that I want to work for. Yeah.
So let me just make sure I got that right. So what was what would be an example topic or something like that he would have thrown at you?
I think one of them that I can remember was, tell me a funny story about a student you had. And I remember I had a kiddo, and I can't remember his actual name, but I remember he wanted me to call him Big Money. and I politely told him, and I love you, but I'm not going to call you Big Money. I'm going to call you by your name. But I remember that was the story that I told him, and it was entertaining. So
Sorry, you got Ashley cracking up over here off mic here. So, and then you had to pull a headline from that, though. Is that what was?
Yeah,
So-
yep. He had me create he'd say like, take a few minutes. I want you to think about like, this is the topic. Think about what would be the title of that chapter. And so I was taking notes and writing things down as we were going. And so it was a very interesting interview structure. I liked it.
I can see that title. Let me tell you about Big Money.
Yeah.
Go from there. All right. So, and then you had to come back and basically you're coming back up to Michigan in the wonderfully warm weather like we had this morning. Yeah. And I have to, trading that out. So what was the transition like coming back? Because there's a lot of folks at Boomerang here. And when you leave and come back, you're reintegrating and it's different. So what was it like?
I was used to a very different school culture. We had to go through gang training every year as a teacher down there. It was an urban school, and there was a lot of fighting there, and some similar problems that you have in every school, right? But it was just a different culture. And coming in under Jamie Banstra's leadership, he really wanted to develop something different at G2S, and I loved it because I was frankly burned out as an educator in the role that I was in. So it was like, I'm either going to do something very different or maybe a completely different career.
And that's entirely, that's a very normal thing too, that happens, and where you do have teacher burnout.
Yeah.
It's 100% a thing. What about coming back to the community itself?
I was thrilled, so excited. I love Ludington. I grew up in Michigan, in central Michigan, so I love smaller towns. I love a good community feel. This is just such a wonderful place. My husband and I fell in love with Ludington, love Scottville, where our school is located. It's just a wonderful place. We started a family here, so love everything about it. No,
that's great to hear. And with, as a Boomerang myself, and as I run into more and more of us that are out there, that's the thing when we come back here is, we've got some experience, got to see things, and then at some point in our lives make a decision, say, I need to change, but I also want to go back to where, I can come back and be me.
Yep.
And, and it's going to be accepted and everyone's cool with it, which is one of my favorite things about this community, that you're allowed to be whoever you are. I know, just be good, for, be nice, be kind, and do whatever you want to do on that area. So that's great. So we're heading into our next break. And when we get back, let's talk about that transition, because now you're teaching over at G2S, and again, a completely different model and everything that's going there. So interested to hear how you made that transition. So you're listening to Leading West Michigan on 102.7 WMOM, at home on your Amazon Alexa or Google Home smart devices, streaming online at WMOM.FM, and live video streams on the 102.7 WMOM Facebook page and WMOM YouTube channel. So let's get into that break. Then we get to hear all about G2S.
Do you enjoy refunds on ATM withdrawal fees, building savings automatically, no monthly maintenance fees, and free digital banking? Well, Safe Harbor Credit Union offers a free checking account that pays 5% APY on balances up to $15,000. You can open your account within minutes. Innovative checking built on traditional values. Free Kasasa Cash rewards you for supporting your community. Some key features include high dividends, refunds on ATM withdrawal fees, no monthly maintenance fees, and no minimum balance requirements. To learn more, check out our website at safeharborcu.org or come visit us at our office at 5511 US 10. Member, owner, neighbor. Here, you're one and the same. Safe Harbor Credit Union.
Ladies, get ready for the ultimate night of fun and fabulous finds at Yada Yada Resale. It's the event of the season, Women's Night Out. Mark your calendars for Thursday, March 7th from 6:30 p.m. to 8 p.m. Trust us, you won't want to miss this. Shop till you drop with a fantastic 20% off store-wide. Satisfy your sweet tooth with free Britters pastries, because a shopping spree is always better with a tasty treat. And for the fashion-forward early early birds snag a free custom tote bag. The first 50 customers will leave with a chic tote, the perfect accessory for your fabulous finds. But the excitement doesn't end there. Win big with our door prizes. You could walk away with something extraordinary. Engage in lively games with fun prizes, including goodies from downtown favorites like Sister Bees and Red Rooster. Gather your girlfriends, mark your calendars, and join us for the Women's Night Out on March 7th at Yada Yada Resale.
With spring around the corner, we know you're ready to get that four-wheeler out. Getting stuck is all part of the fun when a friend can pull you out, but what if they can't? Abrahamson's Towing wants to see what kind of chaos you're causing from being cooped up all winter and will pull you out of any situation. There's no such thing as too much fun, so let Abrahamson's Towing be a part of your day or night. If you get your big truck or heavy equipment stuck, Big Al and his big rig can get you out and back on the road. Abrahamson's does heavy duty and long distance towing too. The number you need to call for the most reliable towing company in Mason County is 231-843-2990. That number again is 231-843-2990. Big or small, we tow them all. Oh, and don't forget to go green with Abrahamson's Towing by recycling your unwanted vehicles and do your part to save the planet.
It's Leading West Michigan, and we're back with your host, Ryan Howe, on 102.7 WMOM.
All right, welcome back. Again, before the break, we had talked here with Melissa Zumbach about moving to G2S Academy. Before that, though, and during the break, you had mentioned you had started working on your doctorate a little bit as well.
I did, yeah. My master's, I enjoyed. It was a lot to do in a year, but I thought, I think maybe I could do more of this. So I jumped into a doctorate program and was working on that. I was writing my dissertation while I was interviewing at various schools to get back to Michigan. And so I kind of paused that dissertation work to come and start G2S. I've been there from the beginning and eventually picked it back up and decided to turn it into an ed specialist degree. Okay. And so, yeah, that was how I kind of finished my graduate work.
Yeah, I've met quite a few folks that have actually, went the specialist route and said, like, you know what, this is going to be more than enough that I need to be successful. And frankly, there's not saying, I don't want to say better use of your time, but you have to make a decision on priorities. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you're like, hey, this is going to work and get me the information, education that I need to be successful. So, again, awesome on you for getting that because, like I said, I've been asked a few times by my alma mater to go back for my doctorate, and I'm like, no, that's not a level of work I don't want to do. So here you are, you landed G2S, and you're there from beginning, correct?
Correct. Yep. 2016, I moved from South Carolina back to Michigan in the summer and immediately started. I think I was back in Michigan 2 days, and I was in Ludington, and we were working out of Western Land Services. We had office space there, and because the school was still being built,
sure.
And we were planning and training and doing all of the things.
Yeah, and so what was that? I mean, obviously you knew from the interview kind of what you were going to be going into, but what was it really like when you landed and they're like, okay, we've got to build this project-based curriculum, all this, what?
I had no idea.
Okay.
I had no idea what I was getting into. I thought I knew what project-based learning was. I had never done it, but I thought I knew. And then we got into being trained, and I had no idea. It was completely different than anything I had ever done, any curriculum I had ever written or worked with. And I wrote curriculum in South Carolina. I did that, and very traditional. And this was flipping it right on its head. So it was a little nerve-wracking as someone who's been, for 9 years, you were drilled into you got to get every standard in X amount of time.
Yeah,
and you've got to, all the benchmark testing and all of the stuff. And this was just very different.
Yeah.
Different flow, just completely different. So I think it was exactly what I was looking for.
Oh, great.
It's, I think, the best way to learn.
Absolutely. I'm a huge fan of project-based learning. It's a big part of what we did in the military. It was just understood if you're going to have the group, work as a group and figure it out. But so day one, doors open, got the kiddos come running in.
Yeah.
How was that?
It was a little nerve-wracking because it was one of those where we were building the plane while we were flying it for a few years. And that was a level of stress that I wasn't accustomed to. I was accustomed to working in an established program, and so it was exhilarating because, as a teacher in a traditional school, a lot of times you don't have say-so. You just do what you're assigned to do. You teach the curriculum that's there. And this was 100% like, what do you think? I value you as an educator. What do you think? What do you want to do? And so it was a little stressful, but also, pretty exhilarating too.
Yeah, to be able to have that level of feedback on curriculum is rare.
Yeah.
But again, when you're building it from, you've got to be able to have those feedback loops in
Yep.
place. So you said about 3 years, give or take, as you're working everything out. What was as far as for the students coming in, what were they probably didn't have they probably didn't even know what to expect when they rolled in that door.
I think it was so much excitement because rarely do you get to walk into a brand new building.
Sure.
That's shiny and new and beautiful. If you've never been to our building, it's beautiful. And it's so different than a traditional school. It's full of windows and light and doors, giant garage doors that open, just a really different learning environment. And so I think those kiddos walking in at the beginning were like, whoa, this is awesome.
Kind of blew them away. So about 3 years, you said, working on the curriculum. What changes did you see from like beginning lessons learned to now you say, we've got this thing kind of locked in now? What sort of changes happened?
Yeah, we've flipped things on its head many times. And that's what I love about the culture at G2S, that you try something out and you see if it works, and if it doesn't, you rework it. And we do that, and it's a continuous cycle of communication and collaboration, and it's a culture piece. With our staff, we get together regularly and we assess how things are going. And so we've gone through many iterations of, how do we do project work out here? Because there's a million ways you can do it, and what is going to best meet the needs of our kids that come to G2S. And those kids are different every year. Mm-hmm. So things just naturally change and evolve. We've gone from individual, every single class does its own project every single period of the day, to these giant cross-curricular grade level projects that are full of collaboration. So it's been a big shift over the years, and it's just been really exciting to be part of.
And so with that, you've still got academic levels you have to hit and things like that. So how do you, how was that, again, at the beginning here, more we're at, because I want to definitely move into where you moved into administration. How was that process of making sure things matched up? I imagine there's probably matrices all over the place going.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and that, to be honest, that was a struggle point for me as a teacher at G2S. It was because I was so used to hit every standard, every single one. And in social studies, there's a million of them. Mm-hmm. There's a million to hit, and it's this kind of breakneck pace that you've got to live up to. And project-based learning is really, it's not about breadth, it's about depth. So you pick your power standards, which ones are kids going to really connect to, and you drill down into those, and you do deep learning. And it's just so different, but so rewarding, because kids, they do, that's how they learn. They want to pick an interesting, relevant topic, and it's choosing things every year that you're going to find relevance in for kids. So.
Okay. All right. That makes sense. As I had to do some curriculum writing for the military too. So that's where, when you're mentioning building this thing out project-based, I'm like, oh man, if this is even, because we were accredited with through Southern chapter of colleges, so it was for college. It was accredited, so we had to meet all those standards. And I'm like, oh, that was so good. Bless you for that, because it was hard enough writing a course to meet those standards, let alone trying to figure out project based for it.
Yep.
So
it's challenging, but good.
Oh, good. So you're there now. You're there as a teacher, handling your business, and what happened? What got you towards the administration side?
I was really happy as a teacher. Loved it there. Like the best teaching gig that there was. I mean, just the freedom to do what you wanted, what you needed to do for your kids, write your own curriculum. It was wonderful. And then I think end of year 5, Jamie Banstra said that he was leaving. And we were devastated.
Yeah.
He's an amazing leader, and he built that place, established our culture. And so the hunt for a new superintendent kind of went on, and I didn't consider it. I was happy teaching. I was a new mom. And I really didn't think that was the point in my teaching career where I was going to make that jump to admin.
Yeah.
And so I was just going to keep teaching and hope for a good superintendent to come on. And our board did hire a superintendent that didn't work out.
Okay.
And so then it kind of came to me.
Okay. So
unexpectedly.
Yeah. Well, I want to go back one thing you said there with Jamie. So it's when it comes to leaders, there's people that are builders. There's and there are people that are maintainers,
Yep.
and builders rarely like to maintain. They want to be back in the creative process
Yep.
and doing stuff. And I imagine that's what Jamie was like. I got to get on to my next thing to go back and do. And I don't like to say fixers. I like to say builders.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Yep. He was an amazing leader to work for. In my leadership degree, there's transactional leaders, there's transformative leaders, and he's a transformative leader. He's inspiring. He's, really built that place to be full of growth and longevity. So really thankful for him.
Yeah, it's great. So superintendent for you didn't work out, and then they said, "Hey, Melissa, come check out this office." Something like that. How'd that look like?
We were kind of in an emergency situation. I mean, our superintendent that got hired started July, and in October left abruptly. And we were kind of in the thick of it. And at the start of that school year, I had just been given part-time assistant principal duties.
Okay.
So that was kind of my first bit of administrative work, and I was still teaching. I would say mostly teaching, a little teeny bit of assistant principal. And so then that superintendent left, and there was no one. And it's an awkward time, October, to be trying to hire a superintendent. And so the board said, "Can you come on as interim?" And I said, "Well, yeah, I can do that. And Carrie Newberg, a fellow teacher of mine out there, an amazing educator and a super awesome leader. I said, "Well, she's got to do this too. If we're going to do this, there should be a superintendent and a principal, because Jamie Banstra was both.
Yep.
And that's an impossible workload. I don't know how he did it.
That's a fair negotiation with the board, saying, if you want me up here, I need this though too.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that. So then that's how boards get people too. Like, oh, it's just temporary. Come on in. Like, oh, well, look, you've already adjusted the chair. Why don't you just stay permanently? So, and that was it, right?
Well, and at that, I was really unsure that was what I wanted to take on at that moment. I love teaching, and leaving the classroom was really hard for me. But I did fall in love with the admin side of it too. So
like I said, people who like structure tend to end up being managers because they want to spread that structure out to help others. So I'm not a bit surprised that happens. So you're listening to Leading West Michigan on 102.7 WMOM, at home on your Amazon Alexa or Google Home smart devices, streaming online at WMOM.FM, and live video streams on the 102.7 WMOM Facebook page and WMOM YouTube channel. So let's get into that final break, and then we hear what's going on at G2S.
Yeah.
Attention all treasure hunters and community enthusiasts. The moment you've all been waiting for is right around the corner. The 29th MCC Ed Foundation Spring Community Auction is gearing up to bring you an adventure of a lifetime. From the coziness of home decor to the thrill of sporting equipment, there's a trove of items just waiting for you. Imagine the wonders you'll find: toys that spark joy, kitchen gadgets that inspire culinary magic, tools that turn to-dos into done, and outdoor gear that calls for adventure. These gems are not hidden. They're on full display at the Scottville branch of West Shore Bank. Swing by during business hours and get a sneak peek of the bounty that could be yours. Remember, time is of the essence. This auction is not just about the finds, but the friends and memories you'll make. So mark your calendars, set your alarms, and join us for an evening where your community spirit can truly shine. March 2nd, 2024, the Greystone Event Center will be the place to be. Starting at 6 p.m., with each bid, you're not just winning a prize, you're supporting a cause that holds us all together. The MCC Educational Foundation is counting on you. Will you be there to raise your paddle and raise the spirits of our community? Find your treasure at the 2024 Spring Community Auction. Remember, the date is March 2nd, starting at 6 p.m. The Greystone Event Center. We can't wait to see you there.
Beware of those pesky potholes on your drive if your car's feeling the bumps. It's time for a checkup. Lakeshore Automotive and Tire is here to smooth things out for you. Lakeshore Automotive and Tire's expert team will ensure your vehicle is pothole proof. Drive confidently. Choose Lakeshore Automotive and Tire on South James Street for a smoother, safer ride. Visit us today and let's fix those pothole problems together. Lakeshore Automotive and Tire, where your journey meets a smooth road.
Welcome to the ultimate flavor experience at El Rancho, where every bite is a reason to celebrate. The rich tradition of El Rancho's Rancho Bowl. Indulge your senses in the vibrant flavors of the Burrito Loco, or take your taste buds to new heights with the irresistibly delicious Super Rancho. Sundays become extra special with an incredible 30% off on house margaritas, the perfect way to elevate your week's end or start anew. Treat yourself to daily food and drink specials that promise a delightful dance for your taste buds. As you sip on the ultimate margarita, margarita. Savor the complimentary chips and salsa, a true symphony of flavors that will leave you wanting more. Birthdays are transformed into unforgettable celebrations at El Rancho. Take a shot and brace yourself for the sweet surprise of free ice cream, all while the dedicated servers serenade you in celebration. Join El Rancho Sunday through Thursday from 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. and extend the fiesta into the night on Fridays and Saturdays from 11 a.m. until 10 p.m. Indulge, rejoice, and let El Rancho add the perfect spice to your life. Located on the north side of US 10 in Ludington.
It's another way to increase the awareness of your events and happenings. It's Mom's Fridge Magnets, presented by Watson Motors, West Michigan CMH, McGee Insurance, and Lakeshore Automotive and Tire. Another fridge magnet comes your way next.
Get ready to own the road with the 2023 Ram 2500. Unleash power and savings with an incredible 10% below MSRP on select models. Hurry to Watson Motors in Ludington, Manistee, or Benzie and seize the thrill today.
Hit a pothole? No worries. Lakeshore Automotive and Tire can align your tires to get you driving straight again. Potholes won't slow you down with us. Visit us today for expert tire alignments. Lakeshore Automotive and Tire, your solution for a straight ride.
On Tuesday, February 27th, Feeding America West Michigan will bring its mobile food pantry to Lake County. The truck will be at the Lake Township Fire Department on South Star Lake Drive in Baldwin. This is a walk-up event and will begin at 11 a.m. If your group or nonprofit organization has an announcement that you would like others to know about, reach out to us and we'll add it for free to the Fridge Magnet program thanks to Lakeshore Automotive and Tire, McGee Insurance, West Michigan, CMH, and Watson Motors.
It's Leading West Michigan, and we're back with your host, Ryan Howe, on 102.7 WMOM.
All right, welcome back, and we're on to the final segment with Melissa Zumbach, the superintendent of Gateway to Success Academy, G2S, out in Scottville. And again, you did mention how gorgeous your building is at the beginning. It is gorgeous. Yeah. Now, I mean, I obviously remember many iterations of grocery stores over the years, but what they've done to there, it's really beautiful, nice open. And when you say windows, that's no lie. They got glass everywhere. So before we move on to what's going on there, let's talk about the quick stop at your transition into that leadership position. Now what was that like for you? And what did you learn as you were going through it?
It was a really wild ride, I would say. I started that year with a new leader, teaching a little bit of admin responsibilities and I had a young child at home. I was a relatively new mom. So trying to just kind of settle in under new leadership, and then it quickly did not work out, and that superintendent left. And I remember the day she left, and the board came and said, "Hey, do you think that you could maybe do this?" And I said, "I'll think about it." And I think 2 days after that, I broke my ankle.
Oh, no.
And had to have surgery and all the things. I was out, and it was such a chaotic time. I mean, thank goodness for Carrie Newberg. She was like, "Yep, I'll step in," and she kind of took the reins. And so then she and I, the rest of that year, we taught, and we were the sole admin in the building.
Oh, wow.
And it was the most chaotic thing that I've done to date, I think. But looking back, we were learning and taking it all in. It's like a fire hose.
Yeah.
and sometimes that's the best way to learn. You just kind of get it you're thrown right into it.
Yeah.
And it was a lot, but we've really settled into things. This is our third year. Mm-hmm. She and I as admin there. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
So with that, if you want to tell us a little about the team, what's going on out at G2S, anything that's happening in the next, for the rest of the school year? Like what's going on?
This is, I think, my favorite year to date so far at G2S. We just so much growth and cool project work that's going on. This year we partnered with the Lakeshore Food Club, and so we have our own food club at G2S that serves all of our students. So that was a really exciting thing to get off the ground. We kind of were in the talks of that last year and launched it this year. So that's been really exciting.
Is that like a weekly food or monthly, or what's that look like?
Weekly, yep. Kids get, every kid at G2S is a free member. They get 20 points a week to spend. They get to shop at certain times during the week. And it's been really
that's
a really
cool.
good asset to what we're doing out there.
Oh, okay.
For sure.
How about the team? What's your team like out there?
Best we've had. The best we've had.
Awesome.
And that's honest and true. It's an amazing group of people out there. They're really dedicated to kids and families and serving those needs. We brought on a new virtual learning coach this year. So we do project-based learning, and that's our thing. But there is a population of kids that they really do need virtual learning options. So we have a program, we have a coach who does that, John Merchant. He's amazing. He's come right into our team this year, and he's been a good asset. But yeah, we've hired a full-time social worker when Carrie and I took over, and John Chaco, he's an amazing asset to our building too. He's working with kids all day, every day. And that's the name of the game. It's connecting with kids, and every single person on our team does that. They're just in it for kids.
So for now with the, obviously you have project-based, education there. What is it that tends to drive students your direction? Like, as far as landing with you, what does that look like, the typical student that's making their way towards you?
I think it's a big misconception. A lot of people don't know what we are and what we do and why we exist. And we are truly an alternative. An alternative sometimes has a negative connotation, like it's a bad thing. It isn't a bad thing. It's just different. So we have a wide variety of kiddos that come to G2S for different reasons. A lot of times kids come to us just because for some reason traditional school wasn't working. Sometimes it's anxiety, and it's just things within that student, and they need a smaller environment, and we're a good fit. Other kiddos, it's bullying or discipline things in a school, and they need a fresh start. It's a lot of different reasons, but we have a lot of really smart, talented, brilliant kids that come to G2S.
And I guess my question I have there is when they land with you, what's that, they've been in traditional school and they make their way over there.
Yeah.
What's that transition like for them?
It can be challenging because we do things very differently. Even our grading system is very different than traditional schools. So I would say there's often a transition period, and sometimes it's short, sometimes it's long. It's something to get used to, but when they settle in, it really is a way that most kids can learn. It's learning by doing and problem solving and collaborating, communicating, and that's just natural for people.
That's what we did when we were young. Outside of school, you're doing the same thing.
Yep.
And that's how you're learning there. So, what about the rest of the year? What's going on the rest of the year out at G2S?
Yeah, we're about to start our third trimester, so we're just wrapping up our second tri. So we'll start beginning of March into our third trimester. That's our busy season, and we're not a traditional school, but we try to do some things that traditional schools do. So we'll have a prom, spring break, all of those things will be coming. Graduation is a big one. We'll do an exhibition. If you're not familiar with project-based learning, it's kind of a key component where kids show off the project work that they've been doing, and they communicate their learning to real, authentic audiences. So we invite community members, parents. If you're ever curious about what G2S is about, that's a good time to come out.
What's an example of one of the projects that that a cohort's working on?
Yeah, it's a lot of different things in the past, and like I said earlier, we try to do cross-curricular. So a kid might be working on like one project in multiple hours of the day, getting science, getting ELA, getting social studies credit. So last year, a big one that we did in the spring was water testing. And kids were going out on local waterways, local rivers. They were doing water testing. We have kayaks.
So
they're out kayaking.
Getting samples.
Yeah, they're doing place-based learning. So they're going out in the environment and doing that hands-on stuff. And that's so exciting for kids to do. So
they come back, they got water testing, looking for whatever's in it. And just
analyzing data, presenting that data. And it's interesting. So if you come to an exhibition, it's really the whole building. You walk in and you kind of just walk around place to place, and kids have set up what they've been working on, and they talk to you about it. And for a kiddo, that can be really challenging, talking to a stranger, an adult person about what they've been learning. But it's so rewarding. They're learning those communication skills and all of that.
That's the way it is for almost everybody. Standing up and having to, again, especially because you're basically trying to prove that, hey, I know what I'm talking about, and here's the thing, to somebody that doesn't know you. When is that exhibition?
It's going to be coming in the spring. I don't know if we have a date nailed down yet, but we will put it out on our social media and on our website when that comes up.
Okay, well that's great. I love that you do that. Having spent time around in the military, a lot of project-based learning was a big portion of that. The way it pulls people together, but also it breaks down so many barriers because you have to communicate with your team.
Yeah.
Folks that normally wouldn't be talking with each other, they're just having to have those conversations. So that's great to see it. So again, that's about all the time we have for today. Listen, thank you so much for coming out here. I really appreciate it. when I first got in touch with her and everything. And the warning I got from everyone was like, she is so busy. And I'm like, I bet she is. And it turned out, it was like, okay, can you squeeze me? And you're like, yes, I got this 15 minutes. If you can make it in this window, we can get a picture. So I really appreciate it. And again, we're better off for having you around here. So thank you so much for coming back. Again, for those of you who are not following Summit Business Guides on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, you are missing out on a lot of the information I share with my clients. I'm easy to find. Just search for Summit Business Guides and click on the subscribe button. You'll be glad you did. Also, be sure to connect with me personally on LinkedIn. And if you'd like to connect for a deeper conversation about how I might be able to help you, send me a note at ryan@summitbusinessguides.com. Now, I'm always looking for new leaders to have on this program, give them an opportunity to share their stories. If you know a leader making an impact, go to summitbusinessguides.com/leadingwestmichigan and submit their name for consideration. Next week, Jimmy Newkirk, the Scottville City Manager, joins me to discuss his journey to becoming a West Michigan leader.
You've been listening to Leading West Michigan with Ryan Howe, a weekly program where you hear success stories of local officials and business leaders. Join